a bunch of things, and then give us an area profile. So if everybody would like to welcome everybody's favorite realtor.
Well, thanks for the kind words, Tim. I appreciate that. And thanks everybody for coming. I know it's the Oilers game 1, second round, kind of a big deal. I mean, I'm wearing an Oilers jersey. I'm stoked. Yeah. So we're gonna watch the game after. You know, we'll network, we'll hang out, we'll have the game on in the background. So don't just rush to your closest TV, because your closest TV will be right here. I mean, I want to watch the game too, so it's for my own benefit. So as you all know, I've been doing a series of neighborhood profiles, neighborhood by neighborhood, going through the city of Edmonton, talking about different areas so that you all can learn a little bit about what type of property exists in different locations throughout the city. It's also very valuable for people from out of town, because I constantly get asked, hey, tell me about this neighborhood, tell me about that neighborhood, where should I be investing, where do you like, where do you not like? Well, the honest answer is I like a lot of different neighborhoods, and they all have different pros and cons. So I like to talk about different neighborhoods from that perspective, not necessarily recommending any one particular neighborhood, because a different neighborhood will be a different fit for a different type of investor. So today I'm going to be talking about the North Side. Now, full disclosure, I grew up in Mill Woods on the South Side. So for those of you who are Edmonton born and raised, there's definitely a little bit of a North Side, South Side thing going on. So this is what I did. Because obviously I like to introduce my slides with a picture. I went onto Google and I wanted to find a picture for my opening slide, and I Googled, right here, Edmonton North Side. And these are the images that came out. So we've got, you know, a couple of different security camera footage photos. We've got this fellow right here taking a selfie. A couple of different police cars. So, you know, Mill Woods ain't so bad, right? But the thing about the North Side is, it's not just one tiny little pocket that has a lot of negative stuff going on. It's a huge neighborhood, and there are large swaths of the North Side of the city that make a lot of sense to invest in. So this is more me just taking a jab at the North Side because I'm from the South Side, not necessarily painting it with one brush. So the North Side of Edmonton actually has a lot of really nice, safe communities. You see these folks walking across a tree-lined street. There's lots of neighborhoods built in the 50s and the 60s and the 70s that are really well set up. So when we talk about the North Side, the first thing we want to think about is the demographics. Who are you going to be renting to when you're renting in the North Side? So there's going to be a lot of low-income lifetime tenants, kind of in that, you know, slightly below average range. Again, this fits for a lot of people's tenant profile because often tenant turnover can be a problem for your portfolio. If you've got the kind of people that stay for 5 to 10 years, that's really your ideal customer. Now there are sections of extremely low income, and I'm gonna recommend staying away from those areas. There's a lot of working class, blue collar type of folks that live in the North Side, and there's a lot of oil field industry laborers that live on the North Side. Now these people, well, when oil is good, make a ton of dough. And they can also make really good tenants, because if they're working, you know, 24 days in the field, 4 days in, well, now you have a tenant that's only using your property 1/5 of the time. That can actually be a really, really good fit for your portfolio. There's also a lot of young families. And I say young families because the North Side is typically a little more affordable. And as you'll see when we get to the map, there's a school in every single district of the North Side. The North Side is full of schools. And so families that have young kids really like living in the North Side because there's a lot of places for their kids to go to school, which again creates that long-term tenant profile because they don't want to move their kids away from the school. Also a lot of seniors in the North Side. There's a lot of original owners who bought in the 50s and 60s and 70s when the neighborhood was first came around. So this creates a lot of opportunity for flips. So let's talk about target properties. Now, full disclosure, I used the template from the downtown presentation. We're not talking about the downtown, we're talking about North Side. So there's a little typo. So what are we looking at in the North Side? We've got older houses built in the late 60s and 70s. There can be lower end tenants, very stable rents, and great houses to build basement suites. There's a lot of people who have made a really successful business model out of buying older bungalows in the low 300s, spending $100 to put in a suite, and ending up with a property in the low to mid 400s. There's a lot of suited houses. There's a lot of illegally suited houses at an entry-level price point, which is a little bit cheaper. But there's also a lot of legal and fully renovated and refurbished basement suited houses, which can also make really good targets. Proceed with caution for older townhouses. There's tons of townhouse complexes built in the early 70s to early 80s. but a lot of them have condo boards that aren't doing exceptional jobs of managing, and they can be really big risk factors for cash calls. Yes, the price points are really good. It's nice to be able to pick up a cash flowing investment property for, say $200,000. But if you've got a condo board that isn't managing the condo very well, we got a roof replacement for a couple $100,000, that's getting chopped up amongst all the owners. So if you're gonna be pursuing townhouses, proceed with caution. Make sure your due diligence is tight and on point, because the last thing you want is to be heading into a complex that has a cash call looming. Now, in the far northern sections, close to the ring road, we're actually seeing a ton of new construction. Very, very similar to what we talked about when I talked about the Southwest and South Henday areas. You're gonna see new houses with basement suites, you're gonna see brand new townhouses, brand new row townhouses, and brand new half duplexes. So a lot of these can actually rent very well and cash flow for you. And again, if you want to target that oil field worker and blue collar demographic, these can be really great options. So let's get to the map and we can talk about this a little bit. So as for my color scheme, red is my recommended no-go zone, yellow is my proceed with caution band, and then green is where there's a lot of really good stuff, and then the light green is where everything is brand new. So avoid is my red area right here. There's a rail yard right here, and the trains running by all the time creates a lot of noise, and people don't like living near that. It decreases the land value, and that decreased land value ultimately results in a kind of a lower antenna profile and a higher turnover. So this area is pretty rough, to put it more bluntly. So I'd be careful about this area. This area right here is the infamous Clairview area. So there are little gems hidden throughout here, but for the out-of-town investor, for the inexperienced investor, for someone that isn't born and raised in Edmonton and knows how to pinpoint the right zones in there, I would say generally be cautious and avoid this area. This band right here is kind of that affordable blue-collar zone. So I would say if you're going in there, target newer, nicely renovated properties, because you want to have the nicer property in this area. If you have a lower end property in this area, that can combine to end up attracting a lower antenna profile. So if you're going to be in the yellow band, make sure you're either renovating a place when you buy it, or you're buying a place that's already renovated. Now this purple area right here, this is Griesbach. This is actually basically a brand new subdivision that got built right in the center of the city. This used to be a military base. They reclaimed the land, and there isn't a lot that you would see for rental in there in that lower end price point, but there is stuff in the higher end price point. This green box and this green box right here, these are kind of the two sweet spots in the north side, because it's far enough away from kind of the red zone that you see really, really stable tenant demographics, but it's also got properties in that 60s, 70s, early 80s range where the prices make sense and there's a lot of value to be added through renovation. These light green areas right here, this is where all the new construction is happening. So the presentation I'm going to be doing after this, I'm actually going to be talking in depth about older properties versus new properties and the pros and cons of investing in each. But again, keep in mind, this is where you're going to see a lot of that new stuff. Now, coming down the pipe, and not in the immediate future, but in the distant future, there's actually going to be an LRT that's built here, 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 and here. So that's why this green box to me is very interesting, because you can get a lot of properties that are in walking distance of these start-out LRT stops. Now, this isn't a short-term play. They're not building the LRT right now. They're going to start that construction many years in the future. But if you've got that 20-year, 25-year time horizon, this part of the north side can make a lot of sense if you're targeting properties that are close to those LRTs. They're also going to be extending the existing LRT out to right here, and they're building a lot of new properties kind of right in this area right here. So again, if you have an LRT targeting portfolio strategy, there are opportunities in the north side that will be coming up for your longer term investment strategy. So that's the north side. I like the north side. There's a lot of good areas in the north side, but if you're new to Edmonton or you're learning about Edmonton, you really need to know where those caution zones are, because you'll see a lot of properties come up in here that are a really, really great price, but they're a low price for a reason, and so you want to approach them with caution. And that is your neighborhood profile of the north side. Thanks, everybody.